So in this video, briefly, we're going to be talking about Roman numbers and Roman numerals. So let's first start with numbers. There are two types of numbers. There are cardinal numbers that correspond to our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there are ordinal numbers that you need to know that correspond to our first, second, third, fourth, and so forth and so on. As per usual, there's going to be embedded in this video some 3 items that you will be able to earn an easy 100. Let's start out with the cardinal numbers. You've got 1, which in Latin is unus, una, unum. It is an adjective. You're going to learn about those forms, but just know that it is unus. Obviously, we get the word uniform and so many other derivatives that come from it. The second one is going to be duo, dui, duo, but just think about it in terms of the first one, duo, which is 2. Then the third number, 3, is of course trace, trace, tria, but just think about it in terms of that. But those 3 are the only cardinal numbers that decline. In other words, those 3 numbers have different forms, just like other adjectives, in the different cases. Nominative, which is what I've given you here, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. Every other number outside of the numbers 1, 2, and 3 only have one singular form. And these are they. And I only have to give you 10 because just like in our system of counting, it's a base 10 system, a decimal system that we start over every time we get to 10. And so you've got quatuor, 4, quinque, 5, sex, 6, septem, 7, octo, 8, novem, 9, and decim, 10. Unus, duo, tres, quatuor, quinque, sex, septem, octo, novem, and decim, counting to 10. Now if I were to continue to count, it would just be decim, or 11, duodecim, tridecim, quatuordecim, quindecim, seidecim, septendecim. But when you get to the number 18, instead what you would count as duo de viginti. Duo 2, de from, and viginti 20. Then for the number 19, it's de viginti. 1, de from, viginti 20. And then finally, viginti. But then you start over with 21. Viginti unus, viginti duo, viginti tres, viginti quatuor, viginti quinque, viginti sex, viginti septem. Duo de tregenta, 30. De tregenta, 29, and then tregenta for 30. And then you start over again with tregenta unus, tregenta duo, tregenta tres, tregenta quatuor, tregenta quinque, tregenta sex, tregenta septem, duo de quadrigenta, de quadrigenta, and then quadrigenta 40 itself. And so that's the way that obviously you would count. Please note all of the things we get from these. A quintet is 5 singers. Sextet, 6 singers. Septuplets, 7 children born, and so forth and so on. Now let's talk about the ordinal numbers. The ordinal numbers are those that are going to give an order. Like I said in English, first, second, third, fourth, and so forth and so on. They would be as follows. Primus, prima, primum. Again, it's an adjective, so it's going to have a masculine, feminine, and neuter form, just like unus, una, unum. Masculine, feminine, and neuter form. But for the rest of these, I'm just going to write the masculine form. Primus prime. Secundus aum, second. Tertius aum, third. So if something is primary, it's first. Secondary is second. Tertiary is third. And then for the rest, quartus, quintus, sextus, like the child in our story. He's probably the 6th child born in his family. Septimus, octavus, nonus, and if you play music, the notes restart every 8th. The octave, every 8th note. Octaves. Nonus, and then decimus, 10th. That's why we are a system of tenths. Every time we get to 10, we start over. It's a decimal system. And that is the first word. That is, of course, for your quiz, decimus, that you see there. So these are the ordinal numbers. And these are the cardinal numbers. Again, counting to 20, let's say. Unus, duo, tres, quatuor, quinque, sex, septem, octo, novum, decum. Undecum, duodecum, tridecum, quatuordecum, quindecum, sexdecum, septendecum, duodecimogenti, undecimogenti, wigenti. Let's go to 30. Wigenti unus, wigenti duo, wigenti tres, wigenti quatuor, wigenti quinque, wigenti sex, wigenti septem, duode trigenta, unde trigenta, and then finally trigenta, going all the way to 30. Now, let's now deal with Roman numerals. Numerals are the symbols. We in English use Arabic numerals. We have 1, 2, 3. These are the symbols that correspond to the word 1, the word 2, and so forth and so on. And so, Romans obviously use their own symbols, which were, as we all know, the Roman numerals. Now, they use letters that, of course, represent things. The letter I, either capitalized or lowercase, is corresponding with 1 because it's one finger making the letter I. Their next symbol was the letter V, which corresponds to 5. Do you see the V that my hand makes? That's why it's the V. The next letter that symbolizes something for them was the letter X, which is the number 10. Do you see the V on top of the other V? 2 V's make up 10. The next that they have is L, which is 50. C, which is 100. Think of it as centum, the Latin word century. D, which is 500. And then M, which would be 1,000. Now, if you were to have a Roman numeral placed in front of you, there's a system by which you would actually be able to calculate the number. Go ahead and stop it. Okay, so let's look and see how it works. If you have an I, that would be 1. 2 I's, 2. 3 I's, 3. But very rarely do they want 4 of the same letter right next to each other. And so instead of putting 4 I's, what they often will do is they will put IV. That is, if a letter is followed by a letter that is smaller than, or I should say, that is larger than it, V5 is larger than I, you group them together and subtract the smaller from the larger. So this number is actually 4. So if you were to see VII, that would be 7. But if you were to see IX, you have to group it together because V is larger than 1, so we're good. And 1 is equal to 1, and so we're good. But here, I is smaller than X. Group them together, and then subtract the smaller from the larger. That would be 9. Same thing with XL. X is 10, L is 50. So you have to group them together because X has a larger number immediately thereafter it, and they are a unit, meaning that is the number 40. And it works that way in every single of the examples. So, let's take a look at these that we have up here on the board. V5, which is larger than I, so we're going to add 5 plus 1, which is the same as I, plus another 1, which is the same as I, which is plus another 1. Obviously, this is the number 8. Let's look at the next one. X is larger than V, so 10 plus 5. V is larger than I, plus 1. Same size as I, plus another 1. X plus 5 plus 1 plus 1. 17. Here, X is followed by a number that is larger. So what we are going to have to do is group that together as a unit and subtract the smaller from the larger. So XL is 40. Then you have I, you look at the V. The V is larger. So again, you're going to have to group them together and subtract the smaller from the larger. 40 plus 4. There it is, 44. Let's look at a little bit of the larger one. C is 100. D is 500. C is smaller than the D. So when a larger number follows the smaller, you group them together C from D is 400. And then X and C. X is 10, C is 100. So again, you have to group them together because a smaller number followed by a larger. X from C is 90, 10 from 100. And then the same thing with I, smaller than X, group them together, 9. This is 499. D, C, C, L, I. D is 500, C is 100, so we're going to add, because we don't group them together, because the next letter is smaller than the first. 500 plus 100. The next letter, that is also 100, so equal. 500 plus 100 plus 100. The next letter, not larger than C, plus 50. That's not larger than 50, plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. 753, like the founding of Rome. And this is your next item in the quiz. The Roman numeral 753, DCCLIII. This one we have M and M, 1,000, but they are the same size. So 1,000 plus 1,000. M is larger than X, so plus 10. 10 is the same size as X, plus another 10, plus 1. So this would be 1,000, 2,000, 2010, 2020, 2021, this year. Written in Roman numerals. Look at the next one. MCM. So M, 1,000, larger than C. So we're going to add 1,000 plus C is smaller than M. So we have to then subtract, if it is followed by a larger number, 1,000 minus 100 is 900 plus X, which is 10, but 10 is smaller than L. So when it is followed by a larger number, you subtract. X from L is 40. And then again, we have that same situation, plus I and V. I is smaller than V. So it is 1,944, a year during World War II. And then finally, let's look at this one. M, 1,000, larger than C. So we're going to add 1,000 plus. But again, we have C smaller than M, so we have to group those two together. And that's going to be then 900 again. X is 10, so plus, but 10 is smaller than 100. So you're going to group that again together. X from C, that'd be 90. And then I is smaller than X, you have to group that together. Unless you have 9, so 1999. So that's it for your numbers. Again, unus, duo, tres, quatuor, quinque, sex, septem, octo, novum, decum, undecum, duodecum, tridecum, quatuordecum, quindecum, septendecum, or I should say decum, septemdecum. Remember, we get to the number 2 before the next 10. Or I should say duo de viginti. Duo de viginti. That's how it's spelled. 2 from 20. De viginti. 1 from 20. Viginti. Viginti unus, viginti duo, viginti tres, viginti quatuor, viginti quinque, viginti sex, viginti septem, viginti no, not viginti octo. It's duo de trigenta, 2 from 30. De trigenta, 1 from 30. And then trigenta. And this is your final word that you're going to be writing in. Duo de viginti. Not decum octo or octodecum, but duo de viginti. 2 de, or duo, de from viginti, 20. Thanks for watching.